Viva Congress, viva! Viva! Viva, viva Congress, viva! Viva! Viva, 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 viva George Manu, we are viva! Viva! Viva, 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 viva Mama Joel, viva! Viva! Viva, viva, viva Chanamolu, viva! Viva! Long live, long live, long live, long live Revolutionary Youth League, long live! Long live! Long live, long live, long live, long live the fighting spirit of Shamanito, long live! Long live! Oh, executive committee members, yo, yo! 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 The fourth estate, yo, yo! 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 Veterans of the Blue Revolution, yo, yo! Yo! Manda! Vetu! Manda! Vetu! Thank you, Congress. We want to quickly use this platform to ask all militants to increase their height as we have gathered in the most sacred place on the ground of the Martyr Coalition for Democratic Change. Sound! We ask you to increase your height as we zoom in and invoke the restless spirit of revolutionaries that are putting their lives on the Golgotha to ensure that the victory of the Blue Revolution becomes a reality. So, while we are on our feet, permit me to quickly zoom in and invoke the restless spirit of Papi Solo. Permit me to invoke the restless spirit of Muna Fatal Youngblood. Permit me, colleagues, to zoom in the restless spirit of James Gray and all other fighters that are currently resting in Mataya Dome. While you are on your feet, permit me to submit to your conscience's greetings. Distinguished foot soldiers, revolutionary gatekeepers, adherents of social justice, devotees of the Blue Mandate, revolutionary stalwarts, enlightened nationalists, men and women that are representing the 15th political geolandscape of our country. We want to use this platform to give you our Pan-Africanist revolutionary salutation as we are about to Jumbo. After performing the normal ritual of the Revolutionary National Youth League of the Martyr Coalition for Democratic Change, it's important to quickly introduce executive committee members that have come to grace this all-important press conference. And you know, every time the Youth League assembles, is to send a message not only to citizens, but even to political miscreants and intellectual charlatans who decided or who have decided to get involved into the politics of elitism. But Congress, today in this process, we have one of Africa's finest, a decent and remarkable character who is now seated representing the full bench of the Revolutionary National Youth League of the Martyr Coalition for Democratic Change. He's no other person, but we have a decent brother who's no one else, and we normally refer to him as a Marxist-Leninist revolutionary. I'm pleased to recognize the presence of revolutionary Avo S. Mo. Avo S. Mo served as the Deputy Secretary General for Research at the level of the Revolutionary Youth League of the Martyr Coalition for Democratic Change. And I'm also honored to recognize the vivid presence of one of our finest cadres, someone in whom we are well pleased. There is no other person but Revolutionary Christopher Kenneth. Christopher Kenneth serves in the position as Vice Chair for Human Resource. Distinguished colleagues, it is a most pleasing honor as I flip the pendulum over to recognize the distinct and remarkable character, and she chairs the affairs of the Gender Bureau of the Revolutionary Youth League of the Martyr Coalition for Democratic Change. And she's no one else but Revolutionary Jemima Dawson. And she serves as Vice Chair for Gender Affairs. Colleagues, of course we have in this gathering a distinct and remarkable figure. And he's no other person but Revolutionary Walter Guinan. And Walter serves as the Vice Chair for Finance and Investment at the level of the Revolutionary National Youth League of the Martyr Coalition for Democratic Change. So, comrades and friends, again we want to zoom in a man who is charged with the responsibility to mobilize and recruit on behalf of the Youth League. He's no other person but Revolutionary Charles B. Morris. Charles B. Morris serves in the position as Vice Chair for Mobilization Recruitment of the Revolutionary National Youth League of the Martyr Coalition. Comrades and friends, it is a pleasing honor and a privilege in this political circumference to recognize an erudite revolutionary philosopher, somebody who once upon a time played an active role within the youth and student community with emphasis on the campuses of the University of Liberia. Somebody who, before we knew ourselves, was into the trenches, debating and giving reasons why George Manuel Weah should be a beacon of hope for the Republic of Liberia. Coming and friend, I'm honored to recognize former student guerrilla activist and now Vice Chair for Political Affairs of the Revolutionary National Youth League of the Martyr Coalition for Democratic Change. And he's no other person but Revolutionary Elias Tawali, normally referred to him as political. Comrades, at this platform, at this critical juncture, I'm honored, I'm grateful, and I'm colorfully mesmerized as I recognize the man who has the responsibility to ensure that he dots the I and crosses the T, the chief scribe of the Youth League. Once upon a time, debater, comrades and friends, we now ask you to turn the camera as we quickly recognize the Secretary General of the Revolutionary National Youth League of the Martyr Coalition for Democratic Change. He's no one else but Revolutionary Hassan Newland, a doyen of the Revolutionary National Youth League of the Martyr Coalition for Democratic Change. Comrades, while we're in flight, we witnessed the arrival of the former chairperson of the Electoral District No. 10 Youth League, who is now serving as Vice Chair for Interparty at the level of the Youth League, and he's now Revolutionary Garrison Abba Davis. Comrade Abba Davis, you have my unflinching revolutionary salutation and honor. Comrades and friends, we ask all militants to barricade all of the entrances leading to this most sacred place, as we now have the most distant honor to recognize somebody who will be recognized in the person that will recognize the chairperson. Comrades and friends, it is a responsibility that every time the chairperson is in our midst, become inspired. And normally for me, every time I go to bed, he's the last person I speak to. And sometimes we wonder, we say, but comrade chairperson, how do you manage with the affairs of the young people? And he said to me, Brother Mark, history poses no problem to which there is no solution. Comrades and friends, I'm honored and pleased to recognize the distinct character, the Vice Chair for Political Affairs of the Revolutionary National Youth League of the Mountain Coalition for Democratic Change, who will drill you in your jiffy, and then subsequently witness the arrival of the Secretary General of the Revolutionary National Youth League of the Mountain Coalition for Democratic Change. Amanda Nika Africa, the way too. Amanda Nika Africa, the way too. Viva, viva, Youth League, viva. Amanda, Luther.
Distinguished members of the press, fellow citizens, fellow compatriots, our distinguished and beloved citizens of our country. Permit me to use these wavelengths and salute your resilience and gallantry for demonstrating your sincere love, patriotism, nationalism, and love for your country. Over the period of time, violence has not been the fundamental rudiment in resolving crises, political crises, in resolving situations that have been incubated within our society. There is no point in time in history that violence has been the remedy to resolve the struggling crises and the struggling masses of our people. Or in history, the young people of our country have borne the backlash of violence in our country, in the wavelength of the political landscapes. History will remind you in the 90s, when there was unabated revolutionary crisis on our people, the young people bear the backlash of violence and civil unrest in our country. Some of whom are dead, some of whom are homeless, and some of whom today have been considered as what we call our disability youth in our country. It is because of violence that young people have been seized under that echelons. In history, in the 2000s, there was a violence that was perpetrated on our people. Lives were lost. Our parents lost their lives, our sisters and brothers lost their lives. All because it was because of political issues. Violence was the fundamental role in ensuring our people lost their lives. We have come today to remind you, in 2011, when the party was struggling to ensure that the masses of our people could be redeemed, they were violent. Individuals bear the consequences of violence. Young people in the bailiwicks, the mattresses and the homes or canopies of the CDC was executed due to violence. People's businesses and homes were destroyed due to violence. These were political violence that were perpetrated against our people.
Down, 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 violence down. Down. Down, 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 violence down. Down. Yo, the youth still know the violence. Yo. Man down.
We do. These violence expresses and inflicted an unprecedented casualties on the young people of our country. In 2011, when the country was in turmoil and political decisions, violence was perpetrated, but there was one institution who stood up and said it's sustaining the peace, tranquility, and liberty and survival of our people must be the foremost fundamental pillars and frontline soldiering on of our people.
Banda!
Wait!
Banda!
Wait!
Banda!
Wait!
Banda!
Wait! And that is the Mighty Congress for Democratic Change. Vis-a-vis the Coalition for Democratic Change. Today, we have come to our people and the country at large that we, the young people, of the Mighty Congress for Democratic Change detests violence in the highest and strongest possible terms. We say no to violence. There is no manner of faction will take us back to the days of Butwell and Company. There will be no manner of faction in these political arrangements, political processes that young people will take on violence. We want to call on to the young people honoring the whims and caprices of the Revolutionary National Youth League, of the Mighty Congress for Democratic Change, to stand tall against violence in the face of whoever that will stand that want to fight violence. We want to say to you that violence should be no way given breathing space in the campuses, the bailiwicks of the Mighty Congress for Democratic Change. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, fellow citizens, fellow seditians, we have come to re-echo, and the official message will be delivered by a man who presides over the tripartite arrangement of the young people. He will speak to the press and detesting violence in a very strong and possible terms. We will work with all of our international partners in ensuring that these elections will be free, transparent, and violence-free. We want to call on to all of our political actors that we must stand up strong to ensure that this country must be projected and protected in the manner and fashion in which President Ambassador George Weah have projected the country and have allowed the country to sail in a very peaceful and tranquility manner and fashion. I'd like to say to our media, I'd like to say to our political young people, we must be the champions of peace. We must fight against those who want to perpetrate violence in our country. We must fight against those who want to inflict casualties and violence in this country. Those who think violence is the only shield, is the only way to extend and to achieve political power and legitimacy. We want to say to you that the young people of this country, whether you from party X, whether you from party Y, whether you believe in the ideologies and the fundamental principles of the Mighty Congress for Democratic Change, we want to say to you that we all must stand up together with a stronger voice to detest what we call violence and let our people live and let our children live and let our election go on peacefully, freely, and fairly without violence. At this point in time, without delay, we don't want to serve as the official deliverer of the message, but we are just somebody like the John the Baptist to give you the gist about the press briefing. And the fundamental issue surrounding the press briefing is what I have just told you. That the Youth League, honoring the whims and caprices of the young revolutionary leader, Dr. Emmanuel Morba Johnson alias Agostino Nito, will strongly fight against whoever wants to perpetrate violence in our country. If you think that violence will be your trump card, if you think that violence will be the only way that you win election in this country, you are missing the mark. We will call all of our young people seditions. When John Brown slapped your ear right, you turn it left, and you avoid him. You navigate to the process and ensure that we can get the dividends of victory comes October 2nd. We must all avoid those who want to bring in violence into these elections. We are uncover and discover the reactionary tactics. The tactics is to stop you. The tactics is to ensure that violence must be muted, that for which you will come out. But we will not come out because we have bear the brunt and consequences of violence. We have bear the brunt and consequences of violence. We are living testimonies of violence in this country. We are victims of violence. Our party have been victims of violence. We have seen many things, and many things have been inflicted onto us. And so we will not allow those individuals with sinister motive to destroy our own revolutionary, unequivocal peace that have been set up by our presidents and the international community at large. And so at this point in time, we'd like to use this medium to call on to these ructions a man who understands the workings of our party, a man who dots the I's and crosses the T. This man has served as what we call the political slaughter man. This man has been very blunt and clear to the meanings and essences of what are reactionary or intended reactionary elements. This man has been very categoric in speaking the bold truth. Whether you like it or not, whether you happy with him or you're not happy with him, he will tell you the bold-faced truth. This is the person that will mount this ructions. Without delay, let me do up my high and call on our distinguished brother and friend, a brother in whom we have fought so many years to ensure that CDC, when I say fought, I mean fighting in the positive manner. I mean we have fought to ensure in the jungles, in the trenches, we have delivered the message, we have campaigned to our people, we have elevated the argument for Ambassador George Mann, and we are elections. That is the context for which we're talking about. And so let me use this medium to call on our distinguished brother and friend, Cadre Compatriot, Adilo, Revolutionary Paratroopers, Hassan Sylvester Newland Hassan, a man who served over the Secretariat of the Revolutionary National Youth League. I salute your resilience and fortitude, my brother. Thank you so much.
Manda,
Wetu,
Manda,
Wetu,
Manda,
Wetu.
Viva, viva, respond to the battleground, viva.
Viva,
Viva, viva, viva, respond to the battleground, viva.
Viva,
Manda,
Wetu,
long live, long live, long live, Hassan Newland, long live.
long live,
Long live, long live, long live the Secretary General of the Revolutionary National Youth League, long live.
long live,
Manda,
Wetu,
Luther. Manda,
Wetu,
Manda.
Wetu.
Police, let me be honest to you. I'm not talking to the press on this one. You know the press, they are like gatekeepers of our society. I'm talking about the citizens in the room. People who fall under the banner of the Revolutionary National Youth League, of the mighty Congress of Democratic Change.
Sound.
People take on the time to come here, you come here to answer battle cry, and you don't be impressive. This is not symmetry. This is a political battleground. When we jump battle cry here, we are calling it a political war. Every time we visit our youth structure, we cannot be teaching these things over and over and again. When we say Amanda, you answer the battle cry. Amanda!
Away!
Amanda!
Away!
Batio! CDC Bati!
Daddy!
Amanda!
Away!
So thank you. Take it to the press for making your business to be here to join us to provide information to our people. My name again is Hassan Newland, Secretary General of the National Youth League, CDC. The political slaughter man, that's how my colleague, the guy who spoke before me, called me. And frankly speaking, that's how I am, that's my nature. But we are here today, I'm not a messenger again, but I come to tell you about violence also, like the previous speaker. If you follow the historical analysis of the livelihood of the standard bearer and political leader of the Congress for Democratic Change, who is currently the President of the Republic of Liberia, this man is an offshoot of a humble background. A man who came from the slum, fought his way through a very stressful and poverty-stricken society, challenged the odds of the Liberian society, struggled a donor through the Colombo, managed his way with the skills that God gave him in a very tight family, and made his way to Europe. Challenged racism in Europe, challenged the white race against mockery, backwardness. He defeated all those things, came back to Liberia, fought for peace, and became ambassador of peace. And since he took over our political party, all of his messages, he has been the beacon of peace and the chief pastor for peace messages in the political church of the CDC. So this party has always stood for peace. The last time we visited West Point, you listened to the chairperson of the Revolutionary National Youth League of the mighty Coalition for Democratic Change.
Sound.
He said, don't tell us about poverty, because we live poverty.
For me, I was born in Charleston. Almost all the horses they not get Camus. So you can't tell me about poverty. But let me say this to you. Poverty is a derivative of violence. Let me repeat. Poverty is a derivative of violence. It's from the belly of violence that poverty comes. So as long as young people, as we continue to embrace violence,
Yo, poverty been passing around. Where they coming from now? Yo.
Yeah.
Yo. Where poverty come from now? Yo.
Yeah.
And that.
Where to?
as long as young people, as we continue to embrace violence, we are tearing down our society and we are making our own future very bleak. And so I've come to add my voice to the voices of many who spoke before me, that this party does not embrace violence. Violence does not even exist within the edifice of the CDC. So let us be one as young people. As I look through the gallery I'm speaking to, I'm seeing people between the ages of 22 to 35. Most of us in this room are young people. 2023 could be the end of our tomorrow. And that could be because we engage into violence act. The election at hand is a critical election. As a citizen, I can tell you, it will be a one-round victory. Amanda! As your Secretary General, you have my assurance that we will go to the polls on October 10th. We'll beat the opposition on the first ballot. But we cannot achieve this in a peaceable space. When people are not throwing arms passing on our streets, we'll go to vote in peace. And trust me, there is no candidate within the political bailiwick of the Republic of Liberia that has a capability to withstand the political force of His Excellency, Dr. George Manuel. So normally, the ritual will naturally perform here when we come to give our press conferences that the Secretary General normally introduces the chairperson of the Revolutionary National Youth League. But today, in my capacity as Secretary General, I'd like to bend that ritual, Chairman, with your permissions, and invite to this historic restaurant my friend and brother, Gaison Albert Davis, Vice Chair for Inter-Party Affairs of the Revolutionary National Youth League of the Mighty Coalition for Democratic Change, who will bring to this podium our honorable chairperson. Thank you very much.
Manda, way to, 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 Manda, way to. Viva, 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 Chamanito, viva, 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 Chamanito, viva, viva. Comrades, members of the Revolutionary National Youth League of the Mighty Coalition for Democratic Change, members of the Fourth Estate, National Executive Committee members that are here present, we want to instruct all of the militants to barricade all of the entrances leading to this Papi Solo Intellectual Hall. Everyone should cease all of the movement. All phones should be off, with the exception of those who are going live. All conversation, pocket-side conversation, should be shut down immediately. It is a premier honor to be given on this stage to introduce to you the man that is poised perfectly to present the official message of today's press conference. I'm honored to introduce to you one-time quasi-captain of the First Assembly of God Mission School, Buchanan Street AG, the man who led Buchanan Street AG to academic glory. As a matter of fact, he presided over that team in 2008 and 2009 as a captain. He was also involved in debate on behalf of the institution, stepping in the
shoes of some great academicians and premium stars. The legs of Jim Dugbe, Samson Young, Phil Tappet Dixon, and the rest, Christopher Tawanso Deru. Having graduated in 2009, he matriculated to the University of Liberia, where he was a mission to study economics. While he was there, he got involved in extracurricular activities. Painting amongst those extracurricular activities, he joined ranks with the Vanguard Student Unification Party, where he served as a central committee. Having got some basic political training, he made way to the Congress of Democratic Change. Within no time, because of his workaholic display as a young emerging leader of our country, he was overwhelmingly elected as the Deputy Secretary for Administration of the Revolutionary National Union of the Coalition of Democratic Change. In 2017, having completed a course of studies at the University of Liberia, he graduated with a bachelor degree in economics from the University of Liberia. Upon his graduation in December 2017, during the 6th National Congress of the Congress of Democratic Change, this young man, having served diligently, was overwhelmingly elected as the Secretary General of the CDC Youth League. Upon the election of President George Manneh as President of the Republic of Liberia, looking at his record of service, he was called upon by the President of the Republic to serve as Assistant Minister of the Youth Development and the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Fast forward, having seen the need to expand on his education, because it is often said that the sustainability, the surest way to economic freedom is the education of the young ones. To attain high level of economic freedom, it is important to educate the young ones. So, he saw it necessary to enroll at the University of Chicago, precisely at the Harris School of Public Policy, where he obtained his master's in public policy from the University of Chicago. Upon his return, the young people of the Republic of Liberia, under the bailiwick of the Congress of Democratic Change, saw it necessary. So against that backdrop, he was petitioned, having served with distinction and clarity as Deputy Secretary General of the Youth League and Secretary General of the Youth League. Citizens from across the 15 political subdivisions of the Republic petitioned this young man to run for the chairmanship of our party's Youth League. Precisely on November 25, 2022, this young man was overwhelmingly, unanimously voted as the national chairman of the Revolutionary National Youth League of the Indomitable Martyr Congress of Democratic Change, and by extension, the Coalition of Democratic Change. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow partisans, members of the Fourth Estate, I am honored at about this time. We ask everyone to stand, seize the movement across the floor. I'm honored at this time to present to you Liberia's most powerful young man, the bulwark of consciousness, the fountain of premium knowledge, The man who carries the young people on his shoulder. I'm honored to present to you, and about this time to speak officially to the press, the National Youth Chairman of the Mighty Congress of Democratic Change, by extension the Coalition of Democratic Change, our leader, our father, our mentor, our hero, our daddy, political daddy. I'm pleased to present to you Chairman Emmanuel Agostino Nito Moba Johnson, the National Youth Chairman of the Mighty Coalition of Democratic Change.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you, fellow comrades, distinguished member of the Fourth Estate, former compatriots, National Executive Committee member of the Revolutionary National Youth League of the Indomitable Coalition for Democratic Change. Fellow comrades, today indeed is a sad moment, and we would love, before we go to the message, to appreciate our many brothers and sisters, young people who believe in the fundamental revolutionary existence of the indomitable coalition for democratic change.
Sir.
We want to use this occasion and this opportunity to appreciate you for assembling in your thousands on the 4th of February. You assembled not just on the Anthony Tubman Stadium, but you assembled in Sanikole, Nima County, overwhelmingly demonstrating your desire and your courageous nature of electing His Excellency Dr. George Manneh on the first ballot. Not just that you appear in Sanikole, Nima, in Zwaju. We saw that you were in your multitude. Words are insufficient to qualify to what extent we appreciate your energy and your courage. We also saw in Tini, Grand Cape Mount County, you stood symbolically referencing your entire conversation surrounding your first round victory. And in Bassa, you demonstrated your unending courage to prove to the international community and to your folks on the other side that there is nothing other than the first round ballot of the indomitable coalition for democratic change. So for and on behalf of the Revolutionary National Youth League, we want to send forth our deepest congratulations and appreciation on your maximum and absolute convergence. Your appearance inspired us enough, prepare us to stand and to challenge the odds and to protect the People's Liberation Movement, the indomitable coalition for democratic change. So, we have also come to inform you, member of the 4th Estate. It is interesting indeed that the faces we see here today as member of the 4th Estate are all young people. So the actions, our actions as young people determine whether our country moves forward, our country moves backward. And I'm impressed today that you are here today exemplifying a positive actions. Not to be on the scene recording violence, but to be on the scene spreading the news of peace. Peace is possible, and peace must be possible. So it is important to recognize your effort as young people and members of the press. It is also important to inform you, distinguished member of the 4th Estate, that our brothers and comrades in arms from the Youth League of the Liberia People's Democratic Party and the Youth League of the National Patriotic Party, concomitantly the Indomitable Congress for Democratic Change, we are in progressive nature of working together in ensuring that President Weah is elected on the first ballot. So once again, there is no division, there is no seat of discourse in the Youth League of the tripartite arrangement. We are working progressively in the slums and trenches to ensure that these elections don't go second round. That all of our energy and all of our effort will be used for positive images.
Viva, 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 Youth League Coalition, viva!
Viva!
Viva, 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 Youth League Coalition, viva!
Viva!
Long live, long live, long live, long live, Chamanito, long live!
Long live!
And so I want to appreciate the chairperson of the Youth League of the Liberia People's Democratic Party, Comrade Robin George, and to also appreciate the chairperson of the MPP Youth League, Brother Cyrus Kamara, decent and remarkable brothers who have placed the interests of the young people above their personal interests. That is what it means to talk about patriotism and nationalism. Moving forward, fellow comrades, member of the Fourth Estate, we want to bring to your attention, as we have done with the National Election Commission, in these elections, we take everything seriously, and every actions must be interpreted. And so we have written officially the National Election Commission chairpersons with season copy to the U.S. Embassy, season copy to the European Union, ECOWAS, and ECC. We have discovered and information in our possession suggests that the political leader of the ANC have plenty of young people to bring the paraphernalia and t-shirts bearing the image and emblem of the Coalition for Democratic Change. Such an actions is not just sad, but it's legally wrong. No young person should be ever involved into such an act of violence. Those violent actors were encouraged to do so by the political leaders, especially the political leader of the ANC, Alexander Cummings. We want to say to Mr. Cummings that this is not the way to reach the executive mansion. And in all of our differences with the political leader of the Unity Party, Ambassador Bouaka will not tolerate such an embarrassment. Even though we disagree on political issues and policy issues, and I'm one of such persons, or the Youth League is one of such institutions that have stood in the faces of these people, especially in the face of Ambassador Bouaka, and disagree that there are young people who are qualified to contest on the standard bearership of the Unity Party compared to Ambassador Bouaka. And he is old, and he should vacate the space and to allow young people to serve. But even as that, Ambassador Bouaka will not tolerate such an embarrassment muted by ANC supporters to bring the official paraphernalia of the CDC. It interprets that you are prepared to physically attack us, that you are prepared to bring our homes. The Youth League of the CDC detects violence. Violence is not the way to any election process. Peace must be the only way to achieving genuine development. And so we want to use this occasion. It's a sad moment, very sad moment, for these elections to be peaceful. The international community must be focused. The National Election Commission must also be focused. International partners must be extremely focused on these acts of violence. The young people of the CDC are peaceful people. Never and ever shall we ever, or will we ever, get involved into violence.
Yo, these are peaceful people. Yo.
Yeah.
Yo, no fire politics. Yo.
Yeah.
Yo, the people make their decision. Don't start burning people t-shirt around here. Yo.
Yeah.
Amanda.
So you cannot serve in a political party and you want to contest for the higher seat in the country and encourage young people to bring other parties paraphernalia. It's wrong. What you do, you are involved into an utter provocation. Do not provoke the young people of the CDC. And as we have received tons of messages and calls, we ask the young people of the CDC to remain calm. Remain vigilant. Do not get involved into violence, because violence is not the way. These people have no other way to win the election. And the only way they know of is violence. So we are peace ambassadors. We must emanate from what our political leaders have displayed over the years. Ambassador we are as a peaceful man. And as such, those who are supporters and ideologues of the Revolutionary National Youth League of the Indomitable Coalition for Democratic Change must exhibit in the strongest and highest term of peace.
No shortcut to the presidency. You're going campaign. Yeah.
Let us address our issues and our concerns to the relevant authority, either the National Election Commission or the international community. But never shall we ever be involved into these acts of violence. We know that the young people will not take upon the time to do these things. These things were direct instruction from Alexander Cummings. Mr. Cummings must understand very well that we have experienced our dark days in this country. That many lives were being taken. Elections, violence, prevention should be the fundamental way moving forward. And as a responsible individual, we must discourage our supporters from getting involved into violence, because such an act will only retrogress our society. And so today, we call on these partners, the National Election Commission, to investigate the burning of the paraphernalia of the Indomitable Coalition for Democratic Change. So, you are provoking us. We preside over the biggest league in the history of this country, the Revolutionary National Youth League of the Indomitable Coalition for Democratic Change. So, such a young people with so much energy must be used for the good thing, for the right thing, and not for the wrong thing, and not to instigate violence, but to protect the peace, the uninterrupted peace we have enjoyed here today, that has been given to us by the Liberian people and presided over by His Excellency Dr. George Manawia. And so it is a sad moment for us. We think political leaders must not get involved into such an act. We think the worst thing that you can ever do is to encourage young person to mute violence, or to be a conveyor of violence. So, members of the Fourth Estate, we encourage you too, that if these things are happening, let us try in our possible way to discourage it. What we saw was not healthy. We should not continue on that trajectory. Our dark days provide for us a negative reflection. Our sisters were raped. Our homes were looted. Our homes were burned. Our infrastructure being destroyed. And you saw how the president is doing everything as much as possible to bring back our hydro. And to do everything to construct this country in an irreversible path to economic development. Young people must be an example or an exemplar of good behavior and not to evolve into violence. And so in the coming days, In the coming weeks, we'll come back to you, member of the 4th Estate, to present the plan of the young people moving forward. As we have told you always, that these elections will be won on the first ballot. And what we saw, the organic nature of what we saw on the ATS and across the country, celebrating the revolutionary legacy of His Excellency Dr. George Manawia, must be protected and protected to the core. And these young people who came in their numbers, not just to explain to what condition they are prepared, but their desire to not go for a second round and not in a violent tune. And that's what we said to you in West Point. That with the determination and the courageous nature of young people across the country, there's no second round. Especially for the energy displayed by first-time voters. We are honored today to preside over that league of young people, and we encourage all of them not to get involved in an act of violence. We want to say that Mr. Alexander Cummings must be investigated, and that act that was committed must never and ever repeat itself again. Do not provoke us. Do not provoke us. Do not provoke us. Do not provoke us. And I'm repeating myself because I'm emotional. And I'm emotional because I've seen live provocation. We have the ability to do anything. But the anything will be the peaceable one. Not violence. Not calamity. Not trouble. Just as we are encouraging the young people to stay away from violence, we expect our friends and our brothers on the other side to communicate so to those they preside over, so that this country cannot degenerate into chaos. I want to say thank you ever so much for providing us the opportunity to speak to you, member of the 4th Estate, as we are always partnered in protecting the peace and tranquility of this country. I say Amanda Awetu, Aluta continues.
Amanda.